We got this story from The Hill. Hawley Blackburn call for Biden to resign. There's been other insinuations that he should be impeached if he doesn't resign. But then what do? Do we do President Kamala Harris?
Yeah, please. Anything is better than this guy right now. It's military. He left thousands of people behind.
That's right. And they said they didn't want a Black Hawk Down moment. They didn't want to send in.
This is like the Iranian hostage thing, which was the biggest. Was 52 people, 52, and already 13 people have been killed.
Times 100.
Like people didn't die. No one died in that scandal, that hostage scandal that I know of. They were rescued. Right. These people died already. Right. I sound like Jimmy Dore. I'm evoking Jimmy. I love you.
These are U.S. troops who were there, knowing the risks.
Or they were affiliated with the troops. They weren't all troops, right? They were military.
No, there are 13 dead U.S. service members. On top, no, there were Marines and a Navy medic, corpsman.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are also civilian casualties, although I don't think we have the numbers on the civilian casualties yet.
So
bunch of Afghani, by the way, is the currency. Yeah. I know people keep saying that when they try to say the plural. Right. It's Afghan. Plenty of civilian Afghans, I believe, died in the attack.
Imagine serving on a ship with a captain who's, let's call him sporadic. And you're like, I'm here to do my duty. And then the people who are on shore are like, hey, we're going to put this crazy old man up in there. I can't imagine what it must feel like for a lot of these guys who are like, I'm going to do my best, but they know deep down they're in trouble.
Because if Biden can control your ship, he fires at the enemy ship and he misses. And he thinks about how to do it again. He's got people. And then your ship gets hit with the artillery round. And then all of a sudden, everyone realizes they're going to die. And that's what people don't understand can happen in reality if you're lazy with military.
They didn't think about any of this when, look, Joe Biden campaigned to be president. He said, I want that job. He knew Trump negotiated this deal to withdraw. Biden said, I want to be in charge of the world's most powerful military. And a bunch of people said, I would like that man to have control of the world's most powerful military and to oversee our withdrawal from Afghanistan and the Middle East. And this is what they voted for.
He's been running for president since the late 1980s.
Oh, yeah.
He's been wanting this. By the way, I mean, him being president the way he is like, you ever see that old Twilight Zone episode where the guy's finally alone to read all the books he wants, but he breaks his glasses? You spend your entire life, most of your entire life, you spend a lot of your life trying to be president, and you finally get it, and it turns out you are too incompetent to even execute the basic duties of your office.
It was time now.
It was my time. It's not fair. This is not fair.
Come on, man. I'm a president.
Here's the deal. But so, like, to your point, if it's just sheer incompetence, maybe Kamala could take up. But the thing, though, is this is status quo stuff. He's not going to get impeached. He's not going to resign unless
he's not fit for command, though. You've got to relieve him of command.
I think you'll have to drag him from the Oval Office with his teeth marks still on.
He doesn't want to leave.
25th Amendment. Kamala Harris, what if she comes out, because 25th Amendment requires the vice president to come out and say the president is not competent, and then Pelosi set up that panel. They were expecting this.
I don't know. Look, you were saying earlier that, behind the curtain, Kamala's like, it's my time. I don't know. Have you seen her recently in some of her public appearances? She's got I don't want to be here right now.
She was shaken.
I mean, not just shaken, but like she sees what's happening, and you think she wants to be in charge of this, the cleanup after this? Would you want it? I wouldn't want it.
I would do it, but I would want it. I would take it if it was there and it had to happen.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is she going to, work behind the scenes to take this? And I want to clean this up.
Here's the difference. Ian, you and Kamala both don't want it. You don't want it because you don't want to be in charge. You don't want to have the power, but you're willing to accept responsibility to do the right thing to fix the mess. Kamala doesn't want it because she doesn't want to deal with the mess. She just wants the power. You see how that works?
Do you want the title?
Kamala
Harris
doesn't want to deal with the crisis. She just wants the power.
Well, then she's not fit for command either.
Exactly.
But we keep saying not fit for command. It extends beyond Biden. Maybe Biden is an F-up who doesn't understand foreign policy, as he's shown for the last several decades. But the generals, this is literally their job, is knowing this stuff. Who signed off on all this? Who okayed it? Who didn't push back?
I mean, Milley didn't push back.
But Milley can't be the only one. Who else?
So many.
How many?
The head
does there need to be a cleaning of house?
They were too busy dealing with white rage,
Yeah.
Well, I want to understand. You want to hear about white rage? I got some white rage right now over this.
Yeah.
Write General Milley about this. I don't know where it goes from here.
I don't know.
Doesn't end well.
Who's responsible for this? Who makes the call of where the money goes?
Ron Paul's
the Federal Reserve.
Ron. He's such a funny character. He's one of those guys that before, when I first started covering politics, it was like, this seems like a goofy little man. And then repeatedly was like, oh, he was right about that. and be like, well, I didn't doubt him. I'm like, oh, I did. I mean, it was the one big one. I'm sorry, I know this is a total tangent. Was out at the Fed, and I was like, this is silly. And then the Fed's like, you absolutely will not audit us. I'm like, well, okay, well, why not?
Yeah.
Okay, now you seen Casino? Remember when Sharon Stone asks her husband Robert De Niro for money because she wants to go see her pimp boyfriend, and she doesn't want to tell her husband that, but she asks for like $15,000, and he's like, what for? And then she makes a big stink. She's like, I shouldn't have to tell you what. And he's like, and then the line, and I'm always reminded with this stuff. He's like, well, I wasn't interested, but now I am. Yeah. That's how I feel with a lot of the stuff that Ron Paul's talked about. I'm like, I didn't really have a strong opinion on this, but the fact that you guys are so reluctant to do this now I'm very curious.
I got to be honest. I'd take a President Ian right now.
Same.
I'd take a President Tim.
Oh, I wouldn't want to be president, though.
I don't want to be president, but
I want to be vice
I
president.
need military strategy at the top of the game right now.
I just want to be vice president. Just travel the world, shake hands, try new food. It'd be great.
We'd be better off with like, Rick Smith from Dubuque, Iowa, who's like a local plumber as president.
It's the old Buckley saying is like you'd be better off being ruled by 3 random names from the phone book than most of these eggheads. And that's people can. You think you can do this better? I'm like, yes. Me and 3 completely random people could probably do what's happening in Afghanistan better. I know enough that you'd get the civilians out first. Like, this isn't hard.
Not only that, but some of the low-ranking guys in Afghanistan could have done a way better job. And I imagine that's got to be really frustrating to be deployed on the ground knowing and sitting there being like, why are they doing this?
They're understaffed and they're under-resourced over there. They are working with what they have, which is not great. And the other thing, too, that I don't think a lot of people have been talking about, this sort of psychological angle to this. The guys who are there now know that they're working on the final chapter to a big foreign policy failure. Yeah. They know everything they're doing has been a build-up to failure, and they've been tasked now with trying to get the last Americans out while surrounded by the Taliban. Can you imagine what that job is even like? And then losing at least 13 of your colleagues all in the same day. I mean, none of this had to happen. This was all done by a president and a White House that doesn't know what it's doing, or, as some people have suggested, is actually just malicious.
I've had those jobs, man, where you're like, my boss is dumb. And they don't know how this stuff works. There's a lot of jobs you'll get where the manager is hired externally, and so they've never actually worked, say, the soda machine or the cash register. And they're sitting there trying to tell you how it works, and you're like, dude, you have no idea what you're talking about, right? It's frustrating. I could not imagine what it must be like to be deployed in Afghanistan and knowing what's going on in the country, knowing how the people react, knowing what the Taliban is, and then getting these orders where you're like, you want me to do what? Because this is your life on the line. This ain't a cheeseburger or a cash register.
I can't imagine what the U.S. Marines feel like seeing Afghans, possible Afghan allies, UK nationals, people with their papers, and they can't take them or go out and defend them because they've been ordered to stay put. The 82nd Airborne has been ordered not to go outside of Kabul to save Americans and other people, while the British paratroopers are going in, and the French special forces have been going in and doing these sort of daring night raids all over, and the Americans just have to sit there. I can't imagine how demoralizing, how much of a shock that must be. This, like, as an American, like, look, as civilians, we know the idea that Americans being left behind is such a, I never thought that this could happen. I can't imagine what this is like for a guy who's dedicated his life to being in the armed services. What it'd be like you can't go out and get those Americans. I can't do that. And we might leave some behind. That's gotta, they talk a lot during the Trump year. Sorry, not to interrupt. They talked a lot during the Trump years about unprecedented stuff. The idea that we are on course to abandon Americans in a foreign country to a terrorist death cult. Nothing like that has happened in this country before.
You know what really tears at me? I mean, obviously the U.S. troops and the loss of life is the biggest thing, but I'm just thinking, like, if they didn't abandon the Afghan security forces the way they did, Afghanistan could have been successful. It could have been. They could, and in fact, we've talked with other vets on the show where they said something like, you draw down, the overwhelming majority, 90+% of American forces, leave a few commanders or strategy, logistics with some air support, some drones, and it's done. We get out. That minimal support can help keep things secure. And then I look at what happened with evacuating the Air Force bases in the middle of the night, not informing the Afghan security forces. And I wonder if Biden did this properly, would there be a secure Afghanistan right now for their people?
I mean, maybe. A big problem that the U.S. military has also reported is that the Afghan government is extremely corrupt and susceptible to bribes and looking at their way. Another problem that I know a lot of military have reported is that the Afghans that they've tried to train, the training has been very difficult because there's a lot of lack of discipline.
I've seen the videos, man. Can't do jumping jacks.
Stuff like that.
What is it called? Side saddle?
People jumping jacks, people straight up abandoning, just walking away because
they
don't want to hashish because they don't want to do it anymore. So I don't know if Afghanistan would still be standing with just a few things different. I mean, it's not like there was a lack of spending or a lack of arms or a lack of training. So maybe it would stand, maybe it would fall, but when the White House keeps saying we plan for all contingencies. Apparently, Afghanistan falling to the Taliban was not one of those contingencies, and how you overlooked that, despite everything you were being told by your guys on the ground about how difficult it is to train them, and how corrupt the government is. Well known corrupt. Everyone knew that. We all know that. We don't work in government. We don't work in the United States military. We know it's corrupt.
It's interesting. I always wondered, like, why is bribery so less common here? You know,
I don't think it is.
No. It is. Bribery is common, but it's much less common. Like, I hear these stories. Oh, look, when you get pulled over, would you say to the officer how much to make the ticket go away? Of course not. Never going to happen.
Not in the U.S.
But in Russia,
yeah, South America too, in Peru.
I was going to say in Costa Rica. I was in Costa Rica once and I was warned the cops will try to shake you down for a bribe. So, okay, yeah, to that point, that's what you mean.
It's substantially more common in so many other countries, and I wonder why that is.
Maybe we have more watchdogs, more robust press.
Scruples, like
rule of law.
Fear, like I can't do that. That's just wrong, or I could get in trouble. You know, we know the cop's going to arrest you for it. You're
most likely, yeah.
Yeah, but in these other countries, the cops expect it.
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe just a lack of robust law system, lack of respect for law. I'm not trying to get all, Blue Lives Matter or whatever, but like this is a very sort of strong culture in America of, you pull over, you respect, you have that interaction. I have never once been tempted to slide a cop a $50 bill or anything.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think that would end very poorly for me.
Yeah, they would probably just be like
a felony. I would imagine it's a felony, right?
Yeah, you can bribe a cop. I believe.
Rule of law, man, that's a big part of the foundation of this whole project of the United States. It's sad when people do things that, especially people in power, do things that are illegal and don't get reprimanded for it.
Like the president's son?
Yeah, and like Hillary Clinton with the emails, like that was viciously illegal what she did.
Yeah, she skirted all FOIA laws.
I'm not all into like punishing everyone for every crime all the time. Like I definitely like leniency, and like these people on January 6th should be released. That should all be pardoned. We need unity right now. But I mean, at some point you got to respect law and order.
You know why you get January 6th? Because of Hillary Clinton getting away with the servers.
I mean, I don't know if the two are generally connected, but I will say one thing that's really demoralizing and easy to give into anger is the expectation that people like Hunter and Hillary will never see justice. They break laws that anyone else would go away for.
Well, this is what I mean. When people feel demoralized, like there's nothing they can do to actually get justice, we're living under anarcho tyranny. What do you do when you back an animal into a corner? It's going to fight. Yeah. You get a rabbit. Rabbits like to run, right? But you put it into a one-dimensional a burrow, for instance. They have nowhere to go. They fight. And so that's why
when people get desperate, they do desperate things. Going back to our earlier conversation about desperation.
That's why I agree with you on the pardoning of these people outright, because as much as people might not want to do it, you need to be like, okay, we're gonna call a timeout on this one. We're gonna say, guys, please don't do this. We're gonna let these guys go.
John Hancock did that after Shays' Rebellion. We've talked a little bit about it. Right after the Articles of Confederation were signed, I don't know, do you know much about the Farmers' Rebellion that caused them? Basically, they had to centralize command of taxes because the states were taxing the farmers. The farmers didn't have the money to pay, so they revolted. John Hancock pardoned those guys. I think 2 people ended up getting put to death for the rebellion, but he pardoned like everybody that was involved. And because of that, we have a country today. If he'd persecuted those people, we probably wouldn't have.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.